Hey friends, it's Jennifer with the Passionate Papery Company. I hope you guys are doing well. Today I wanted to do a project with the leftover scraps that I had from the playing cards that I made for the 52 deck challenge, and I had leftover scraps because I had used watercolor paper and had cut them up into the cards. And so I'm really bad whenever I do scraps to just leave them sitting somewhere, so I tried immediately to think of a project where I could do this. So the first thing I did was lay down a mat, and I took some alcohol, just regular alcohol you can buy, and I put it in a spray bottle, and then I also had my spray bottle of water because I decided that I was going to use some distressed oxide ink and just stamp on the cards and then spray them with alcohol and the water to let it bleed a little bit and see that effect. But after I did all that, I remembered that it doesn't work really well unless you use gesso first. So I wound up drying all of those cards and then getting some gesso out and painting gesso on the cards because the ink absorbs into the gesso better that way, and whenever you spray them the ink will then run. So that's what I wound up doing. And then after that I went back and dried the cards and then went back with some distressed oxide ink and stamped them again, and then used the alcohol spray and the water that I had placed in the spray bottle to spray and then dry the ink as it ran, and I was really pleased with how that turned out. So here, after I've done a lot of the ink oxide there, I'm going to spray them with some mica powder that I placed into a spray bottle with a little bit of water, with purified water. And so that really has a pretty effect. And I just kind of spritzed it on all of them in different colors and let it run and bleed. And then just kind of dried them as it was going along so that some of the inks would run and then some of them didn't. So, but they turned out really good. And so now that I've done all of the small scraps that I had, I re-wet my mat with some water because I'm going to take those long strips and get some of that color off of the mat. I don't like to waste it, so I always try to put extra on there, and I hadn't really done the long strips because at this point I still didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of making that work. So here I'm getting the extra ink off of the mat and kind of drying those strips and still trying to figure out what I'm going to do. So after they were dry, I thought, well, why not just make strips that are the same size as the other ones as much as I can. So that's what I wound up doing. And then I had a few pieces at the end that were smaller than the others, and I wound up really liking those two, so I just kept those two in there. And at this point, I love how they've turned out, but I want to add some extra color to make them all a little bit different and unique. So I'm laying them out here in rows so that I can add some more things to them. So after I've done that, of course, I've said it 1,000 times. I love machine stitch sewing on things. I just think it's so beautiful. And so, of course, all of these were little tiny cards. So I do what I call batch sewing, and I run them all through the same way and then turn them over and do the other side. And then the ends. So basically that's what I'm doing here is I've ran them all through my sewing machine, and now I'm just cutting the threads to make them separate, and then I will go through and do the opposite ends on all of the cards. And I just leave the end threads on there on each one because I like the way it makes the cards look. So that was just my thing. You can cut them off if you want to, or you don't even have to do machine threading, machine stitching if you don't want to. I always like it. I can't, it's like a weakness for me. I can't refrain. And so here they are, the little cards. I think they're cute. Cute little perfect size to add to things. And then the larger cards, of course, I think they turned out really well, but I'm still not done with them because I wanted them all to be a little bit different. So to start out, I'm going to ink all of the edges on the cards, and then I'm going to place them all out again in rows so that I can add more things to them. And so here again, I like the inking, I like the sewing, but I still wanted to add something else to them. And so I'm laying them all out in a row where I can do it all at one time instead of trying to do each one individually. And I really liked the splatter idea that I had for one of the playing cards that I got from Shinuki Art. And she always adds splatter, and I just think that's so great. And I've never really done it before. But I get a cup of water, or put a little bit of water in it, and some burnt umber paint, just acrylic paint, and just kind of wet it down a little bit, and you can see me taking my paintbrush. I've never really done this before, so this was kind of new for me. It has to be wet, but you also have to have that color on there. So it took me a little bit of time, but I really loved how this all turned out. And so after they have dried, I'm going to take some black mica powder, and I added a little bit of distilled water in it. And so now I'm going to spray the black mica powder spray on there because I really wanted a better way and I wanted more color. The brown just didn't really bring out the splatter look. And so I did that with the black. And then I took some purple mica powder and added it to another spray bottle and did the same thing, just kind of sprayed color onto the cards. And I just did this until I was really happy with the outcome. And then I just dried them all. And again, I'm going to re-wet my mat that I'm working on and take a piece of paper that I had already put some extra things on and just use up that extra mica spray that I had on my mat to add to it because I hate to waste things. So then when I get done with this, I'm just going to clean off my mat. And then here are the cards pretty much done. And I loved how they turned out. They're just so different and beautiful, and I'm so glad that I was able to just go ahead and get that scrap pile out of the way, because I don't know if you're like me, but I tend to put everything away, just put it in a box, and then I wind up with a big container full of boxes. So here are some ways that I would use this tag. The first way would be on a gift. I absolutely love homemade tags for gifts, especially if you're giving a special gift. You can write to and from or a special message on there, and then after they've opened the gift, they can keep the tag as a memory or put it in a journal. Another way is I pulled out some little words that I had made in another video tutorial, and I'll link that below. But I had pulled out some die cuts and some other words that I had made, and you can put those, kind of arrange those things on the tag to put inside of your journal. I also made one or pulled out some words for the smaller tag as well, and just I didn't add them to the card, but I'm just showing you different ways that you could. And then, you could really just use anything that you have in your mind that you could use. I mean, I'm not crazy about this specific one, but I do love the idea of small little things that you can pull out and embellish and put either on a gift or in a journal, or you could even give it, make a little pack of ephemera to use. And here is how it would look inside of a journal. I just pulled out a journal that I had, how I would use it in the journal. You could just add a little section there. You could either go ahead and glue those pieces onto the smaller piece and then just clip that in, or you could glue it to the page in the journal. Also, you could do it on a different page. You could use that as a topper or like a label for your page, whatever you were gonna, if you were doing memories or pictures or something inside of there. But that's how I would use them inside of a journal. Again, your imagination is endless. You could really use it on a lot of different things. I pulled out these playing cards that I made, and again, you could just make a small packet of ephemera and put together something like that as a gift to someone who loves doing those sort of things. Just kind of make a little something that they can add into their journal as a gift. I just think those things are so great. Also, with the little ones or the big one, you could cut it, but you could also use it as a tab inside of your journal. I've seen a lot of people do that. You could just glue that in or sew it in, however you want to do it. But those are some of the ways that I would use these little scraps that I made inside of, I would use them in a journal or as gift tags or whatnot. So I appreciate you guys watching this video, and I hope you like it, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See you next time.